Hi everyone, so it's been a while since I've made a video like this, but I've been forced out of retirement because somebody's made a pretty big dum-dum, and the person who made the dum-dum this time is Paul Saladino. Now, he made a video on his Instagram where he mentioned me specifically, and he decided to talk about soy. So we're going to watch this video and, in typical fashion, rebut each of his claims point by point.
Paul, where is the research showing soy consumption has feminizing effects in men? Soy does not have any feminizing effects in men. If soy is feminizing, then show me the f***ing evidence, Paul.
So I'm guessing the joke here is that because my voice goes higher pitched when I get frustrated, soy must have feminizing effects in men. Okay, Paul, well, standing next to you, I don't think I look too feminine. I'm taller than you, I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you, I'm twice your size and at least twice as strong. Look at any of my lifts on Instagram. I dare you to even attempt any of these lifts. You'd kill yourself if you lifted the weights I lift. And I even have more goddamn body hair. So, who's the one who's really feminized?
There's research in rats comparing soybean extract, BPA, which is a xenoestrogen, 17-beta-estradiol on the testicles, showing that soybean extract looks a lot like BPA and 17-beta-estradiol in rats. That's not a good thing, and it decreases hormone levels.
Not sure if you're aware of this, Paul, but human beings are not rats. I know you might feel like a rat sometimes because you're really small, really weak, and you also really like to eat cheese, but people aren't rats. And you can't rely on rodent research if you want to know if soy has feminizing effects in men.
In human men, there's a study showing inverse association, meaning the more soy food intake there was, the lower the sperm concentration in the semen.
So this is a perfect example of Paul Saladino's cherry picking and misrepresenting research, and I'll explain what he did here. So here's the paper that Paul mentioned in his Instagram video, Soy Food and Isoflavone Intake in Relation to Semen Quality Parameters Among Men from an Infertility Clinic. So a few things to point out here. This paper is looking at sperm quality or semen quality. It is not looking at feminizing effects of soy. So this really has nothing to do with whether or not soy feminizes men. This paper is looking at whether or not it affects semen quality. Secondly, this is a cross-sectional study, so it doesn't have the scientific weight to draw causal inferences, which is important to recognize. And most importantly, Paul completely cherry-picked and misrepresented the paper. What Paul did here was he only read a small section of the abstract where it did mention that, yes, there was an inverse association between soy food intake and sperm concentration. Keyword there, being sperm concentration. Notice how they didn't mention sperm count, and that's because in this paper, soy food intake did not affect sperm count. You can go down to the multivariate analyses. As was the case in the univariate analyses, there was no association between soy food or isoflavones and total sperm count, ejaculate volume, sperm motility, or morphology in the multivariate analyses. So the only thing that soy did here was it reduced sperm concentration. It didn't actually affect sperm production. It also didn't affect sperm quality. So that's an important detail that Paul, for some reason, I'm sure it's not because he's biased and trying to mislead you, failed to mention this. So not only did Paul's paper fail to demonstrate that soy impacts male fertility in any meaningful way, they actually cited some research that suggests soy improves male fertility in the discussion section. In a study with a design similar to ours, Song and colleagues investigated the relationship between soy isoflavone intake and semen quality in a group of 48 men with abnormal semen parameters and 10 men with normal semen parameters. In contrast with our results, they found that isoflavone intake was positively related to sperm count and motility and inversely related to sperm damage. So here's the paper. Higher mean levels of genistein and datazine were observed in fertile control men compared to infertile men. So they found that the most fertile men had higher concentration of soy isoflavones. Interestingly, the levels of datasine and gynostine were higher in men with good sperm DNA integrity. So basically, again, men who had good sperm DNA integrity had higher soy isoflavone concentrations. Regression analysis showed significant correlation between dietary intake of gynostine. It's a weird word. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. And semen parameters including sperm count and motility. So again, these soy isoflavones were correlated with higher sperm count and better sperm motility. And this was a paper that was referenced in the study that Paul Saladino, showed in his Instagram video. So why didn't Paul mention this in his Instagram video? I wonder if it's because he's dishonest, he wants to mislead you, and he's rather rat-like in a few more ways than we realized. What I also find ironic and pretty hypocritical is that a lot of the foods that Paul Saladino recommends men eat negatively impact male fertility, particularly high-fat dairy. High-fat dairy negatively affects sperm morphology and sperm motility, yet Paul is totally comfortable with recommending these foods on his social media.
I love butter, cheese, and milk. Raw dairy is amazing for you. These are all the different types of raw dairy that I eat.
So, Paul, I might be a soy boy, but it looks like you're a dairy fairy. And given the fact that I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you, and I have a heck of a lot more chest hair, I guess that makes you more of a bitch.
There was a study done comparing soy protein to whey protein, looking at hormonal responses to lifting weights in men. After 14 days of supplementation with soy protein, there was a blunting of serum testosterone relative to whey protein.
So once again, Paul cherry-picked research, misrepresented the findings, and is a clown. So here's the paper that Paul referenced in his Instagram video. The effects of soy and whey protein supplementation on acute hormonal responses to resistance exercise in men. So yes, the paper did find that there was a difference in testosterone. Our main finding demonstrates that 14 days of supplementation with protein does appear to partially blunt serum testosterone. Now, what Paul doesn't mention is this is likely due to the differing levels of cortisol between the two groups. So, in addition, whey influences the response of cortisol following an acute bout of resistance exercise by blunting its increase during recovery. So, cortisol affects your serum testosterone concentrations. Higher cortisol means lower testosterone. Lower cortisol means higher testosterone. Chances are the reason the study had this finding was because the whey group, for whatever reason, had lower cortisol levels. And Paul, of course, did not mention that there was no significant differences between groups in estradiol concentrations, or estrogen. So again, this whole theory that soy is feminizing, turns you into a girl, this paper does not provide evidence to that hypothesis. He's also cherry-picking. You can find other papers that use different protein sources, so soy and whey protein, and analyzes their effects on serum hormone concentrations, and they find no difference between the soy and whey protein groups. This investigation shows that 12-week supplementation with soy protein does not decrease serum testosterone or inhibit lean body mass changes in subjects engaged in resistance exercise program. You can also find large meta-analyses analyzing whether or not soy or isoflavone intake affects testosterone in men. And of course, unsurprisingly, again, according to this meta-analysis, soy does not feminize men. It does not lower testosterone. So once again, Paul is just cherry-picking.
So I think that there is a pretty significant amount of evidence that soy is feminizing for men and males across multiple species.
No, Paul, there is no good evidence that soy has feminizing effects in men. But at least if you're evidence for it, I am seeing a correlation between meat eating and a lack of intelligence. By the way, I am happy to debate you on any topic related to veganism, nutrition, balls in your court, buddy. So I don't know why you'd be afraid of debating a soy boy. Maybe you're too much of a dairy fairy, but I'd be down to have a debate. So I'm on Instagram. I messaged you. If you're up for it, let's fucking go.